The smell of damp earth clinging to your nostrils and the roar of unknown beasts echoing through the emerald abyss. This was the jungle where Japan's most brutal killing machines of the 17th century set foot. But they didn't find glory. They found a silent death from arrows fired by headhunting tribes who feasted on human flesh. Imagine the scene: a samurai, a master of the blade who once commanded fear across all of Japan, having his head severed in a single ambush, his skull mounted on a wooden post at the village entrance like a grim trophy. Today's story is a chronicle of a bizarre and bloody conquest erased from history, the terrifying clash between the Ronin of Japan and the headhunting tribes of Taiwan. If you turned around at the sound of a rustle behind you, only to see a warrior covered in full-body tattoos, lips stained deep red from betel nut, wearing a necklace made of human jawbones, how would you feel? In 1616, the daimyo Arima Harunobu dispatched hundreds of Ronin masterless samurai to conquer Taiwan. These were veterans of the Battle of Sekigahara, men who had survived Japan's most legendary wars. They were arrogant, believing that savages on a primitive island would be no match for their steel. It was a fatal delusion that opened the gates to a living nightmare. The jungles of Taiwan were a different kind of hell than the battlefields of Japan. In the swamps, leeches thicker than a man's finger burrowed into the gaps of their armor to gorge on blood. By night, mysterious fevers made the soldiers' blood boil. Their toes rotted and peeled in the constant humidity, and in those raw wounds, jungle insects began to lay their eggs. But the true horror emerged from the shadows. Tribes for whom headhunting was a sacred rite of passage were waiting for them. To them, the head of an outsider wasn't just a trophy. It was the most precious sacrifice to the spirits. The ambushes always began in the moments of perfect silence. Just as a Ronin sentry's head would droop from exhaustion, a bamboo spear would burst from the foliage and skewer his throat. Only the wet, gurgling sound of a man choking on his own blood would break the stillness. When his comrades rushed toward the sound, they found only a headless trunk. The head had been surgically removed with a razor-sharp blade. Hot, crimson blood pulsed from the neck, staining the surrounding leaves. If you had to wake up every morning to find your comrades transformed into headless meat, would you have the sanity to keep marching? Let's look at a specific documented engagement. A small skirmish near the Taroko Gorge turned into a literal slaughterhouse. As the Japanese warriors moved through the narrow canyon, they were crushed by massive boulders and logs, rained down from the cliffs above, dying before they could even let out a scream. Those who survived and scattered into the woods were invited into an even worse hell. The indigenous warriors hung from the trees, dropping down like lightning using ropes to ambush the samurai from behind. They would sever the spine with a single stroke and begin peeling the scalp. While the victim was still conscious, screams tore through the humid air, and the ground was soon littered with human entrails and jagged pieces of armor. Among these tribes, it was believed that by extracting a captive's brain and mixing it with wine, one could absorb the enemy's valor. The Bushido spirit the samurai were so proud of was, to the tribes, nothing more than high-quality meat and potent spiritual ingredients. Surviving records describe the sounds of drums pounding late into the night, while in the center of the village, the heads of Japanese warriors, top knots still intact, were skewered on poles and smoked over fires. Imagine the sight of those heads being salted and cured to prevent rot. The sun-dried, shriveled faces of former friends swayed in the wind, and soldiers reported hearing the auditory hallucinations of those heads mocking them. The stench of decay in those villages was a weight no man could carry. As the situation turned desperate, the Ronin shifted to defensive tactics. But the jungle was an enemy itself. The tribes used poison arrows, not a simple lethal toxin, but one that caused the muscles to twist, unnaturally making the victim feel as though their own bones were shattering from within. Poisoned soldiers bit through their own tongues in agony, foaming at the mouth until their corpses turned a bruised, sickly black. These legendary swordsmen were falling to tiny arrowheads fired by enemies they never even saw. The battle in the swamps of the Taipalu region remained the most painful memory for the Ronin. While the Japanese troops were bogged down in the mud, the indigenous warriors approached lightly, as if walking on water. They relentlessly stabbed at the Ronin's thighs and abdomens with spears, targeting the gaps where there was no armor. The warriors watched as the samurai clutched their stomachs and drowned in the mud or bled to death. One Ronin lost his mind as he saw his own intestines spill into the swamp, while an indigenous warrior showed the ultimate cruelty by pulling the samurai's top knot and decapitating him while he was still alive. The ultimate irony lay in the identity of these Ronin. In Japan, they were hailed as invincible, but in Taiwan, they were just difficult prey. Their famous katana swords were useless in the dense tangle of vines, and their heavy iron armor became shackles that buried them alive in the swamps. Even the thunderous roar of their matchlock guns failed to intimidate the tribes. Instead, the warriors saw the sparks and smoke and grew excited, believing prey that brings the thunder had arrived. Could you have survived there, in the heart of an unmapped jungle, surrounded by enemies, watching your friends become headless trophies one by one? In less than a year, the expedition was annihilated. Very few made it back to Japan. The reports they brought were so bone-chilling that the shogunate classified them as secrets. To admit that invincible samurai were hunted like animals and had their brains mixed into wine would have shattered the prestige of the warrior class. But while the records were buried, the fear remained. For centuries afterward, Taiwan was etched into the Japanese psyche as the island of ghosts and the forest that eats men. So I ask you, who was the true victor of this war? Was it the tribes, who protected their land with the Festival of Heads, or the shogunate who buried the shame in the sands of time? Perhaps the true winner was the jungle itself, which mocked human greed and grew greener using the corpses as fertilizer. If this story sent a chill down your spine, let it be a warning from history. Do not covet a land you do not know, for the true master of that land may be waiting to claim your skin. If you found this bloody secret of history intriguing, I'll return with even more shocking tales. What was the most terrifying part for you, the headless bodies or the drums in the night? Let me know in the comments.